Girls. Sheriff Down, this is Under Sheriff Michael Walker.
All right.
Okay, we are going to hand out a press release, but I just kind of want to make a couple minutes worth of comments here before we get started. And please feel free to ask me anything you want to ask me. But part of this is to give an update on the investigation, and part of it is to respond to some things that came out in the last meeting. Basically, the young lady that was in the car with Michael Thompson that night refused to give us any statement immediately demanded an attorney, so she gave us no statement at all. Quite frankly, we were very pleased that her comments are at least recorded by somebody here, and we pray that she gives the same comments in court, so hopefully get charged with perjury. But we do have physical evidence indicating what she's talking about here is very, very inaccurate. She does talk about not knowing who the deputies were. Gee, if we had known who those detectives were, we would have stopped immediately. Well, at the scene, she was referring to everybody by first name. She also indicates that she's never been arrested before. That's very inaccurate. We have physical proof that what she's saying about the chain of events is totally inaccurate. The mother, Ms. Thompson, indicates she didn't know whether her son was dead or alive. The evening that this occurred, Lieutenant Kuntz was in contact with the family. We positively know that there was at least 7 and probably more updates to the family. She indicates that he was held incognito. That is fairly accurate. Not long after he was admitted to the hospital in Modesto, 2 people wearing Hells Angels colors showed up to visit him. The hospital got very, very nervous over that. Informed us that there was a process for keeping any kind of information from coming out. Because quite frankly, we had no idea what those people wanted with him. So for his safety, for the safety of the hospital staff, we did absolutely close everything down. But it is not accurate that that family was not given updates on his condition. They absolutely were. And sometime over the weekend, they were given access, immediate family only, to come and visit him. The best information we have at this point is he is going to be released today, and the hospital's determined that he's in good enough condition to be booked into our jail. One thing that you absolutely have to understand is the minute he is booked into our jail facility, his medical costs become a county expense. There has been an arrest warrant issued for him. The minute he's released from the hospital, that arrest warrant is served and be brought and up until that time, his medical condition is not a county expense. And beyond that, I really take some strong offense to us putting out what kind of references lies. Quite frankly, we had TV stations showing up here immediately after that event, demanding information. We put out the best information we could. The first information we put out was pretty inaccurate, quite frankly. After that, for the 11 o'clock thing that was later on that evening, after we did get the scene sorted out, get it figured out, we did put out a release that was accurate. The next day it was more complete. Somebody sees the inaccuracies in that as lies, and what to tell you about that as far as I know, we never intentionally lied to the press in any fashion. I'm I'm not sure what else you folks are interested in, but I'd be glad to answer pretty much any questions that we could.
Any weapons show up in the vehicle?
No. One of the reasons we really delayed on that is because with the current status of things, we have to provide an order. We had to obtain a search warrant. We had the car sealed, brought up here to an impound yard because, quite frankly, that night it started raining in Mountain Ranch. We didn't want to screw up any of the evidence. So we put it undercover. The next day during daylight, the search warrant was served, the vehicle was searched, and there was no weapon found. Now, when the incident first started, we knew that we had an officer that had been hit, and it took us a couple hours to figure all that stuff out. It just doesn't magically appear, so we had to look into it. He was hit with shrapnel. And the other thing I really want to explain, I can't reinforce this enough, the officer that was hit and the officer that did the shooting immediately rendered first aid for Michael Thompson. And I know it makes it sound like it was almost nothing, according to the way it was there. But they actually cut plastic, they taped it over a hole so to stop the sucking chest wounds and fill his lungs with blood. The comment that it took 30 minutes for medical help to get there is probably very, very accurate, but it doesn't make any difference who it is or what it is. It's going to take that long in that neighborhood for medical help to get there. Certainly nothing was delayed, and those officers did everything they could to take care of it.
Was anyone tased during the incident?
A taser was fired, but nobody was tased. It missed its mark.
Was Alan Serba present at the scene?
Yes.
Why was that not mentioned in the press release?
Alan requested that his name not be released.
When investigations first start, we don't mention the officers involved until we have more than adequate time to notify their families, let them know, that sort of stuff. We give them an option later, and part of it's for personal security purposes. We let the officers decide whether we're going to put their name out public. Their name's going to be public anyway. I mean, as soon as anything's filed with the courts, their name's out there. But the initial stuff, some people are nervous about the families.
And then the fact that there was a passenger in the car was also not mentioned.
She was arrested and brought down here. Quite frankly, I don't know why her name wasn't mentioned. I have no idea.
Joel, the focus at that point was on the officer-involved shooting, and she seemed to play a very, very minor part in that.
She was basically a passenger in a stolen vehicle, and that was that.
There were other witnesses out there that were arrested also. But, I mean, it's all public information. They appear on the booking log.
Okay. Did she sustain any injuries?
She appeared to have probably glass fragments, almost like freckles, tiny specks. She was transported to the hospital, checked, released, brought over here.
Some Mark Twain Hospital then?
Yes.
Forgive me if you covered this as I was gone for a week, but the particular white Camaro that this incident had, was that the same Camaro that you were looking for, or did it turn out to be a different car?
Quite frankly, we don't know. The purpose, the person they initially went up to try to find and arrest, they never found him, but the days leading up to it, they had information that he was driving a white Camaro. So when this thing, they got behind it, and particularly when they found it at that residence, I think they made some assumption that it was probably the guy that had the warrants out for him. And then when they approached him, they immediately saw that it was Michael Thompson. And you know,
They knew him.
all three of those officers have had numerous contacts with Michael Thompson. They've also had numerous contacts with that young lady. I mean, she was calling everybody by first name there at the scene, so I mean, there's no doubt they knew who it was. Plus, at least Alan Serba was wearing a rain jacket with sheriff all over it. So.
And the vehicle was stolen at San Andreas.
Right.
Do we have a report on that we can maybe get our hands on, potentially? Like the stolen vehicle?
Probably from the CHP.
From the CHP.
try to answer for you.
So you're not certain it's the same Camaro you originally were seeking, but just to clarify, the Camaro that Thompson was behind the wheel of was stolen?
Yeah, yes, it was. And no, we're not sure it's the one that the other fellow was reported driving leading up to it, but since it landed at his house, it could have been.
That was Palmer's house?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So that was the house that was searched earlier?
Yes.
And is he still being sought, or has he been arrested?
As far as I know, they're still looking for him, because they recovered another stolen vehicle at that place.
First there was a chase, but was there ever a chase where Thompson was driving?
It kind of looked from our information that it was a chase, but actually they were trying to catch him. I don't think they ever actually physically caught up to him. And then actually they went by Palmer's place, talked to Dish Network or DirecTV guy or somebody sitting beside the road that said, no, it didn't come this far. They went back, checked Palmer's place, and there it is.
There was never a pursuit.
Never pursued.
Alan Serpa turned on the vehicle here in San Andres, but they were so far ahead of him, he never did catch up. And then Di Basilio and Wade Whitney started looking for him up there and never could catch up to him either. And then they found it at Palmer's. So it wasn't like red lights and sirens chasing the guy around.
They claim that the vehicle was stuck.
What occurred and the physical evidence will show is that Di Basilio reached in to try to shut the vehicle off. It accelerated rapidly in reverse in a leftward swinging motion that Di Basilio couldn't have held on. It would have gone over the top of it. It went back considerable distance and then high center. Our guys, in fact, nobody at the scene was aware that it high centered until actually we got somebody up there to tow it out and found that it was high centered.
That it high centered after the driver was disabled.
Absolutely.
The vehicle looked like it went about 40 to 50 feet.
We thought initially that Michael Thompson being shot is why the vehicle stopped and everything clicked in and aid started to be rendered. But we do have some proof that the engine was still screaming even after it was high centered, and we didn't recognize what had happened until later.
So we still could actually know the driver was disabled because the car was screaming reverse and then walked by.
And when did the deputies return to duty?
We have a mandatory 3 days. I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about this, but we have a mandatory psychological evaluation to make sure everybody's all right before they can come back. So everybody was off about 3 days. One might have been off a day longer. I can't remember, but at least 3 days. But all three of them were ready to come back to work.
They all came back to work at the same time last Wednesday.
And the charges for Michael.
That'll be in the handout, but I believe it's assault with a deadly weapon, assault with a deadly weapon other than a firearm, and firearm on a peace officer. Possession of stolen property.
The female passenger said she was arrested. Is she still being charged with anything?
The DA has not filed one at this point. We have no idea if there's future charges coming or whatever. And I need to really clarify something for y'all. When we have a shooting incident like this, our protocol and our policy dictates that the Calaveras County Sheriff's Department does the civil and the internal piece of the investigation. The criminal piece of it is picked up by the district attorney's office, and they do the criminal investigation on this. So we're really talking at some point in this that it's the district attorney's investigation. I mean, we certainly were involved because the DA doesn't have enough people to handle everything, but everything is handled through their office.
During his time in the hospital, was there a time when he could make calls or have visitors, or did you not allow that for some period of time?
A big part of the time he was not capable.
Just totally knocked out, is that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. As of
He started having visitors last Thursday.
There was a report that someone had been threatened that they were going to be arrested and then escorted out of the hospital. Did that happen, or was that just hearsay?
Nobody's been arrested at the hospital.
No, not arrested, just threatened that if she tried to visit Michael, she would be arrested, and then basically walked out of the hospital by the person who was watching over Michael. Not that you're aware of.
we were partly for the hospital, partly for his security, our security, everything else. We were not having visitors come in, but the family was contacted pretty much every day.
If somebody snuck by the security that was there, the hospital security, to gain access to where he was at, I could see that could have taken place if they bypassed the internal security of the hospital and the rules of the hospital. They may have been asked to leave. I don't know if they would have been asked by our deputy, but they could have been asked by security there at the hospital.
Is he still requiring enough care that it's going to be a substantial expense for the county?
Well, there's certainly going to be a substantial expense for the county, but the hospital has informed us that he is able to feed himself, to take care of hygiene needs, to all of those sorts of things, and the hospital tells us that he is booked. Now, one of the things that you need to look at that's kind of important for us for criticism down the line is that the way we did this with him in the hospital, the decisions concerning his medical care, and you've got to recognize he's 28 years old. It's not like mom has to say what can happen to him or not. But those medical decisions were being made by medical professionals and the best practices of that hospital. And it wasn't being made by us or our medical provider. Now, once he's booked, then certainly there will be a series of medical treatment, medical whatever.
Any estimate of the time today that he'll be released and then booked here?
You got a time, Dave, or just?
It was later this afternoon or this evening.
But they initially told us this morning that no, they weren't going to release him, and then they called us back and said, yeah, he's good to go. So we have people down there. We don't know the specific time that might occur. That's a possibility.
So the costs of his care up until this point down there in the hospital, those be borne by him?
Medi-Cal, right?
Medi-Cal, there you go. Okay, got it.
He unemployed, as far as you know.
As far as I know, it's always been. This is a person that is not unfamiliar with this, and it is just about any time you go to a community meeting up there, his name will come up. He's been out of control for a considerable long time. It's unfortunate.
So just to be clear, no question, Cecilia's life was in danger according to Wade Whitney. He had every right to try to protect his partner.
You've got to understand that the big part of any shooting incident is the state of mind of the person involved in the shooting. From where Wade Whitney's position was, what he could see, the way DeBasilio was on the car, the way the car was turning, Wade Whitney absolutely believed that his partner was going to get killed or seriously injured, and he had to stop. I do not question Wade Whitney's actions on that.
Nor does his partner. His partner will tell you the same thing, that he felt that his life was in danger and that Wade Whitney saved his life.
Do we know how many shots were fired at this point?
There was a bunch.
It was 8 shots.
Can we put that up?
I think we can.
Okay, it was 8 rounds.
shots.
press release mentions that Ms. O'Neill had been arrested previously as a juvenile. Do you know if she's had any convictions?
Actually, we had a whole list of stuff on there, and we decided for legal reasons we better pull it out of there because we don't. Quite frankly, I'm not sure how legal it is to release those juvenile records, but she's had more than adequate contact with law enforcement. At the scene, she was calling people by their first name, and actually, it's kind of funny that the witnesses there at the scene, the other people, were all saying Alan Serpa did this, Alan Serpa shot him, Alan Serpa shot him. So I mean, pretty much everybody at the scene who was there. I mean, they had the person doing the shooting wrong, but they obviously knew who those officers were.
Anybody else give a statement? Any of the other witnesses that were looking on?
We do have statements from the other people that were there. I don't know to what extent.
They didn't see.
Okay.
And like I say, the young lady that was in the car absolutely refused to talk about it. But I do want to make it clear too, that family was contacted that evening. They were contacted frequently after that to be given updates on his condition.
That was going to be my question. Yeah, my question. So you guys have been in contact with the family
Absolutely.
from your department?
Lieutenant Coops was in contact with the family within a couple, 3 hours after the incident. And between him and Sergeant Hewitt, they've been in contact with that family frequently.
Do we know exactly which member of the family they contacted?
Initially, it was Janice's fiance. He didn't want to tell her because she was in the hospital apparently going to have some surgery. And then later on we talked to Janice, so I guess he decided to tell her.
We also had contact with his uncle.
His uncle was here a week ago. We talked to him quite some time, as well as his grandmother.
Palmer has disappeared at the moment.
Yeah, he's been dodging us for months, and we continue to look for him. We know that he continues to steal cars. We know that he continues to do all his activities up there. We just have not been able to test him.
Does Palmer own that place where this happened, or is he just a resident here?
I don't know the name of the place. I couldn't get a question. Do you know who the owner of that place is? Does Palmer own that place?
The one where the initial search warrant was served?
Yeah.
I don't know that he owns it, but he lives there.
He's lived there for some years.
Had better weeks.
Well, and it's unfortunate because we're in the middle of a hideous budget mess. And I was gone a big part of last week trying to deal with state budget issues and with the State Sheriff's Association. And so, yeah, I mean, when between the shooting, which quite frankly, when you look at the Colorado County Sheriff's Office, in the last 15 years, we've had 4 shooting incidents. It's not like we do this on a daily basis, so when it does occur, it's a big deal. But you also have to take care of other business, and it just kind of gets overwhelming. So yeah, kind of like that week. Certainly not just it's always hideous when anyone is shot.
So basically, O'Neill just is incredible and misrepresenting what happened.
I'm positively, if your story is accurate, she misrepresented what happened. In our opinion, she's not right. But in my opinion, a lot of folks involved in this. His real mom used to be a correction officer. I asked her what the circumstances were. The Hells Angels connection, his brother was a Hells Angel, got killed some years ago. That
was gone last week at a state sheriff's meeting. And so if you try to get a hold of the sheriff and you can't reach the sheriff, I was here all last week, so feel free to call me if you can't get a hold of the sheriff and you need to have a statement on some issue.
Can you answer anything else?
Press doesn't mind. Press doesn't mind. The district attorney handles the investigation because it's involving officers. Is that when they finish the investigation, is that report public document? And at what point do you think the district attorney will be releasing? I know that's not fair. You're not
Well,
today.
it's not.
Okay,
But honestly, when things are filed in court, things will start becoming very public. I don't know at what point we'll be able to choose to do that. Although we do know that he has filed enough information to get the arrest warrant some days ago. So there is some information there, but I can't, and I wouldn't dare tell him this attorney how to do his job. But we set that policy and protocol up to distance ourselves to some extent, so the DA has a more independent.
Well, I just thought it was important for me. It was important that the public understand the protocol, that the sheriff doesn't investigate himself when it's involving officers of the sheriff's department. That was the question I had with the sheriff. And then the public's going to know what the results are. But is it just...
There is an internal investigation. Absolutely, we do.
Yes, different parts of the situation.
We look at the civil side of things and the internal. The internal is to see the protocol policies we follow, that sort of stuff. At some point down the road, we'll have a shooting board to do every bit of this. It's really 100% moved towards finding out whether we state in our policy, whether we have training issues, what. It's really an internal mechanism to make sure that the things is right. So yeah, we'll go over that time and time and time. But on the criminal stuff, most of the boards, anything else? Okay, we also have a problem. And so it is just concerning the budget. All from that and
Thank you.
oh yeah. It's the same choice.
It's got the names.
High-speed, high-tech kind of guy.
Huh?
A high-speed guy.
Not about that.
So it's posted? Part of that hopefully went out.
They said they couldn't get on it.
Yeah, it was. That's a new. I did this, so this will